Okay, we are now recording and Ariane is present. So we have all available. Steve is back. We have all available members present. Oh,
I'll transfer to no one.
so Noel, I've made you co-host. And I think we are ready to proceed with the first continuation. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 140, Section 40, 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposed construction of a two-car garage and rain garden located within a 100-foot buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands and in the outer riparian zone at Assessors Map 9, Lot 51, 73 Standish Road, Bellingham. Margaret Bacon, Civil Site Engineering of River Road, Uxbridge, has submitted the filing on behalf of Clifford Ansell, Standish Road, Bellingham. The continuations will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, June 28th at 7. And so.
Good evening.
Good evening, Margaret.
Good evening.
For the record, Margaret Bacon, Civil Site Engineering, and I'm here with the property owner, Cliff Ansell. And we're here tonight hoping to get the signed order of conditions. There has been a change to the project from what we presented at the last meeting. Actually, due to some unforeseen events, the proposed garage he was going to build has been reduced in size significantly. And if you let me share the screen, I can show you the two differences real quick.
Sure, Noel, could you do that?
Hey, my laptop died. I just had to rejoin on my phone, so I'm not the co-host at this time.
Right. So how do you do that, Noel? You just make the presenter the co-host?
On the bottom where it says share, bottom center, you should be able to click a little arrow next to it, and it should say allow participants to share.
It says host only or all participants.
Yeah, you have to do all participants.
Oh, okay.
Because hopefully everyone will be good and not share also.
All right. So we'll do all participants. Then we don't have to do this anymore.
Yep.
Okay. So we should be okay.
Just put.
Can you see that okay?
Yeah, your Zoom screen is up.
Yeah.
There you go. I was trying to close it.
Oh,
It didn't work. My cursor didn't work on your computer, Margaret.
oh no. Huh? This was the plan you approved the last time we met. 24 by 36 garage with proposed pavement being removed and being added. That's what's in the red with the rain garden. The revision is a much smaller 12 by 24 shed and not a garage anymore. But Cliff's gonna leave the rain garden. He's still gonna remove that older shed that's there. And then everything else we agreed to at the last meeting. So basically the only really difference is going from the garage to a much smaller shed as proposed here on this plan. So obviously the buffer zone impacts are less, the riverfront impacts are less. Impervious area is almost, I think there's an increase in 10 square feet.
Erosion.
But we address all that in the rain garden.
Okay, so I'm sure the commission understands this change and that it's a reduction in impact. Does anybody have a question or a problem with that?
No. I do not.
Okay,
So just as a matter of logistics, Mr. Chair, we would just have to take the new plans, add them in place of, because we were ready to move forward with a signed order of conditions, correct, tonight?
yeah, from an administrative standpoint,
Mhm.
is that going to present any difficulties for you, Ann?
It is not, because on that page, we have to indicate when the hearing was closed, and it's the same page that has the plans of record, so it's not an issue.
Thank you.
The only thing, Margaret, that we don't see on this plan is sediment erosion control. And so we've added it into the order
Sure,
for the area behind the fence,
yeah.
unless we missed it.
No, it looks like we missed it on the last one too. I can't believe
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
Okay. We
How
didn't.
about that? Maybe I had a layer off, but go ahead, but you
Yeah.
put it in the conditions. Cliff will make sure that's installed.
Right, and it's not gonna be, it's gonna be a much shorter run because it's only behind the area of the rain garden and a little bit up the property line.
Yeah,
Oh, property.
uh,
All right. Yeah. Right, put it down.
Okay.
I've got the detail on the plan. I guess I just forgot to draw the line in. So,
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a problem.
okay,
All right,
good one.
we try. Any further questions or comments? That being the case, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing and issue the prepared order.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that everybody?
Opposed? I didn't hear, I thought I heard everybody.
Yeah.
No opposition? Okay, that's a unanimous vote.
And Margaret, just so that you know, I did speak with Clifford Ansel today, and he has agreed to pick up the order as soon as it is complete, and he will take care of the recording and get the recording information to me.
Okay, and you'll let us know by email when that's all ready for pickup?
Certainly.
Okay, very good.
Right, this is always a tricky part. We have to arrange for signatures.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, no, very good.
All righty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.
Thank you,
night.
everyone.
Welcome. Night.
Good night.
Erosion control. Mm, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'm gonna try and change Wi-Fi connections, so you may lose me for a little bit.
okay.
I'll be back in.
Well, yeah, we have 6 minutes before the next continuation, so you're on the clock.
All
Yeah,
right,
and we don't
Goodbye.
want to lose you forever.
right. I'll be back.
Okay. Okay. Um, 35. So is this Paul?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay,
Oh,
Paul.
wow, okay, you can hear
Okay,
us clear
good,
enough.
Good, good, good.
Yeah, I was listening.
All right, we'll give it a couple of minutes, Paul.
Sure, take your time, no hurry.
Hey, Cliff, you might be able to set me as the co-host again if you
Oh, that would be.
Oh, you get your laptop is back?
should be able to do it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
That would be wonderful.
Got it?
Maybe I can't do it from my phone.
Oh.
I was hopeful, but my laptop's turning back on.
All right.
I was having trouble with my laptop too. Just not the day for laptops, I guess.
Seriously. Mine like blue screened at 6:58. It's fine now, but it's stressful.
Oh, yeah. Oh gosh, that's the worst.
Never had a problem with my laptop. Of course, I don't have a laptop, but I guess not my experience.
Oh, Neil's the co-host now.
No, don't do it.
You had a look of panic there, Neil.
I've, yeah. All that authority go to my head.
A hosty with the mosty.
Yeah, Jeff, can you hear me?
If you're asking me, Cliff, yes, I
Yes,
can.
yes. Okay, so we had a little slip up and we neglected to inform your team that we had continuations requested.
Oh.
And so we're trying to move the whole thing up a little bit.
Let me go dark and see if I can reach Austin in particular. I know Andrea was going to try to join a little late, but I know I spoke to Austin and Brian earlier, and they were aiming for an 8 o'clock or so start. So let me send some text. I'll see what I can do.
Sure, absolutely. What's happening here is it seems like every meeting we get requests for continuations late, and then we're scrambling to try to move things up to make it easier on everybody. And
I can appreciate it. Let me do my best. I'll be right back on. Thank you.
thank you.
I have to. Matt.
Is Matt on?
Matt, no,
Right.
I'm sorry.
So who continued Farm Street and Hartford Ave?
Well, actually, it's Hartford Avenue, and we gave Hartford Avenue like a half hour, and they requested another continuation. And it's their third request in a row. And so when we open that up, I'll explain that whole situation. But there's no sense sitting around for a half hour or more while we don't conduct business and while applicants are sitting there waiting,
I'm sure Mike could entertain us.
I could show you pictures from my trip to Pittsburgh, which is actually a pretty cool city. I've never been there before. Has anybody else ever been there?
Iron City.
I
Yep.
married into a Pittsburgh family.
Oh, there you go.
I lost a bet many years ago, and I have to wear Steeler hats.
Oh, I thought
Oh, you poor
you were
man.
saying, is that part of your marriage?
No, it wasn't the bet that lost that got the marriage.
Yeah, we were thinking it was going that way.
Yeah.
What's one of the journeys out, this is going back 20 plus years, we took the train from here out to Pittsburgh, and in that route you pass the carcasses of a steel industry that once was, and it's quite interesting.
World's best.
Rumor has it, if you ever watched the documentary on the Empire State Building, that the steel would leave Pittsburgh at midnight or something and still be warm to the touch in the morning when it was put in place.
We worked with a fellow whose father was the owner of an independent bank in Pittsburgh. It's the largest independent bank in Pittsburgh, and his ancestors founded the bank by going out into the wilderness when Pennsylvania was still a wilderness, and he would meet with the trappers, and he would lend them money and take fur and trade.
Yeah, wow.
And he started his bank, and so it was still there.
My late father-in-law was a scientist for PPG, and he has 51 patents to his name, to which he was paid $51 plus his salary. But
Well,
patent
yeah,
rights were a different structure back then.
yeah. Well, when you work for someone and you got a patent, it was the employers who reap the benefits.
Hey, Cliff, it's Jeff. Austin is telling me unfortunately he's mobile and was planning to join around 7:45. That's his ETA at home.
Okay. Well, if he gets there any earlier, we'll,
I'll ask him to step on it.
thank you.
Sorry about that.
Within safety limits.
Within reasons. Yeah, no, there's, you guys are getting the storms again tonight. It feels like we're getting the storms every night
The storms here
nowadays.
passed to the north again.
Oh, okay. So you guys didn't get them. I'm getting.
Not yet. There's something
Wave.
brewing to the west, but we haven't heard of it yet.
I'm just looking at radar. I think we got one more line before the party's over tonight. You're right. It's west of, it's probably 20 minutes west of you guys right now from what I'm seeing.
Wonderful. Hopefully we don't lose our power.
Yeah, hopefully it quiets down a little bit before. The leading edge of it is a lot of different colors on the radar. So
Oh, no.
I'll check in with him and see if he can do any better. But that was his ETA that he reported to me a minute ago.
It's our mistake and you have our apology.
No problem on this end. We'll manage. Thank you.
All right. How'd you make out?
Did we already announce and continue the other hearings?
No, we're gonna open that hearing. Okay. All right. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the installation of a Title V septic system to replace a failing system located in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at Assessors Map 18, Parcel 6, Farm Street, Bellingham. Paul D. Simone, Colonial Engineering, Medway, Mass. has submitted the filing on behalf of EFB Whiteburn Corp., 15 Chase Street, Bellingham. The hearing will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, June 28th at 7:15. It's not a continuation. It's the opening of a public hearing. Okay. Paul.
Yes, thank you for
Okay.
hearing me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So this was a system we submitted 2 years ago when it failed, but because of non-payment of taxes, it didn't go anywhere. So now he's selling the house and he's got to come up with he paid the taxes actually, so those have been paid, and whatever else, water bills and whatnot. But anyways, so this system, the only place we could fit it, we couldn't fit it in the front. We couldn't fit it on the left-hand side of the house or the right. The pipe did come out the back, so that was a plus. We're putting in a new septic tank, D-blocks, and a leaching bed. System's not very big because the soils were pretty decent over here. They were, 15 minutes an inch, only a 3-bedroom home. So it's relatively a small system. We are in your jurisdiction. Karen Catrone flagged the wetlands back a couple of years ago. My guys went out and rehung some new flags where the old ones were. I don't know if Ann got a chance to go back over there or not.
Yeah,
But,
Paul, you can't, you're on a phone. You can't share your screen, right?
No, I can't share anything, not even money.
All right. Noel or Mike, can you pull this up from the Dropbox?
I have it local if you want me to do that.
Fine,
30 farm, correct?
correct.
I really can't wait to see you guys in person, you know.
You really want to meet in person?
Yeah, I hate this.
Why? Most consultants think it's a lot better. We have consultants coming from New Hampshire, people coming from Eastern Massachusetts on the Cape. They don't prefer that.
Yeah, but you know, I only live 2 minutes down the road, so I kind of like it. I
Okay.
suppose if I lived I suppose if I lived far away, I wouldn't want it, but you know, I much prefer seeing you guys, you know, face to face. I miss you.
Okay. All right.
Are we good?
Yes, can you enlarge that, please?
To which section?
Yeah, that's good right there. That's
Up
perfect.
in, there's a one line of it right here as well, profile.
Right. That's for the grading for the tank. So now I'm going to ask Paul, that's good. All right, now I'm going to ask Paul to just run his recap by us again. And
Okay,
now
so,
everyone's looking at the plan.
Alrighty, so you can see the wetland line, the green one, the furthest one away.
Yep.
My guys rehung those flags. Ann had gone out and looked before my guys got out there, and she didn't see them, so those are up. I don't know if she got a second chance to go out and look at
She
them.
did.
But they were done by Karen, so I think you guys are pretty comfortable with her. And so anyways, I don't know if you can see the wavy line on there. That's the edge of the woods or the edge of the lawn, whatever which one you want to call it.
Yep.
We are in the lawn area. My 100 contour proposed is in the lawn area. We got some erosion control around, connecting it to the back of the deck, going all the way around to the property line. Whatever you guys choose to put in on the order as far as mulch tube or silt fence or whatever, we'll just put up whatever. As a matter of fact, Dave Brown wants to start right away and put that in. We had one tree that was going to be cut. It was a 24-inch oak, which is just off to the left of the system there, in between the 5-foot overdig. That was going to go, but I understand that it already had been taken down. It actually fell in a storm. The top broke off, and Dave went out and cut the bottom off.
We
That
saw
tree is
that.
actually gone. So that tree is actually gone now. I don't know when the top fell off, but it was within the last year, because I know that Tom, when he came back in here to tell us he wanted to go forth with this because of the sale, he had mentioned that the top of that tree had fallen off, because we have a benchmark in it. And we're supposed to transport that benchmark before they take that stump out.
Yeah, and
So that's,
you're proposing to cut a 12-inch maple there as well. That tree is still up.
I didn't see that. Oh, the 12-inch maple over to the left-hand side?
Yeah.
He took that out? Was that one of the damaged trees? There was a couple in there that this tree damaged when it fell.
Yeah, it might be that one.
So I don't know where they were. Tom Steve told me that when that top of that 24-inch oak went off, it damaged some trees in around in the edge of the woods there. So if that was one of them, I don't know. And Dave
Yeah,
was
that
down
could
to
be the
clean up
maple.
mess, whatever. But so again, the system, we couldn't fit it on the side because of the setbacks to the property line and, of course, the house. It's got a full basement. And we couldn't fit it in the front, same reason, the setback to the street and the full basement, you know, staying in the offsets. So the only waivers that we requested for this system was the
50 foot.
setback from the wetlands instead of the 50 feet down at 36.9 for the Title V release. But other than that, system fit in the ground pretty decent right where we got it. Materials were pretty good, 15 minutes an inch. They're not real fast, but they're slow enough where the system was fast enough where the system is not that big. So it's a good fix for the area. Not a lot of grading. We got to push that 100-foot contour out, and that's about it.
All right, so did you get a copy of the DEP file number letter?
Mhm.
We got a copy of the. I got the number on looking at their file number lookup
Yep.
thing, but I did not get any correspondence from them. No.
No, well, when they issue the number, they put their comments under the header. So,
I didn't. Go ahead.
okay. So what they're saying is the proposed system represents a septic replacement proposed in within the 50-foot setback established for soil absorption systems. The applicant should demonstrate that no alternative locations exist and that the proposed system does not represent a substantial enlargement over the existing systems as outlined in 310 CMR 10.033, which refers to the Title V requirements for replacing failed systems. No,
Right, local upgrades. So they're talking about local upgrades. In
That's
other
what
words,
it
if we
is.
would add a bedroom, the system would be bigger. But no, it's designed for the existing 3-bedroom is in the home.
That's a
They're not
3-bedroom
up-
home?
we're not-
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not designing it for any more than what's there now. So
Okay.
that conforms to Title V.
Wow.
And again, we can't fit it on the side, and we can't fit it in the front. So I mean, this was the only place to go with it.
Right.
Why
Okay.
can't
Even
it
if
go, why
we-
can't it go in the front?
E- Even if we did an alternative system, it would be big enough where it wouldn't fit on the side again or in the front, because we did a Elgin and the dimensions for the Elgin was roughly the same size. We have a 30 by 20 bed.
Okay.
And
that
because
type
the
of
perk
system-
rate
that
is
type
at
of
15
system-
minutes an inch.
That type of
I'm
system
sorry?
won't work in the front?
No, neither one of them would work in the front or the side.
It'll only work in that one location, that type of system?
Pretty much, yeah. The thing
The
is you got
soils, the
setback
soils
from the
vary, the
property line.
soils vary that much over 50 feet?
No, the good thing about this is that the soils are 15 minutes an inch, so it's not really fast. If it was more of a 2 to 5 minutes an inch system, it would be smaller, but then the water would be going through the field a lot quicker. So being at 15 minutes an inch, the rate is a little slower. So the water will have a long time to be cleansing itself as it gets down to the water table, which was at, we had 106 inches for weeping. We never did have models, but we did have weeping in the holes. So the quicker the perk rate, the quicker the effluent will get into the water table. The slower the perk rate, it'll take longer to get there, cleaning itself as it goes.
I guess I just don't understand why there are other areas that it looks like it could fit in. I don't understand why it needs to be a different size system to move 50 feet.
I'm
You've
sorry,
got the
say that
system
different-
setback. You get the system setback from the property line?
Yeah,
So,
I got it at 14.4 feet,
and what's the minimum?
10.
But you also have to maintain a setback from the foundation.
Right, that's 20 feet, but in the
And
back, because
front.
it's a walkout and our system is below the slab. So in other words, this is it's a full basement
Right.
with a walkout in the back. And because our system is lower than the slab of the foundation, the basement,
You don't
we
need
can
20
be 10
feet.
feet.
Right.
We can be 10. If we move up on the side or in the front, we need to be 20.
That explains
The
it, Neil.
system will be raised up higher in the ground.
Mm.
Does that make any sense to you guys?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I'm
I
looking
couldn't
at,
put it that deep in the front. I couldn't put it below the slab in the front. Then
So
you're
you had
dealing with
to-
too much cover over the top.
right, so you had to meet the 20-foot offset.
If we put it in the front,
If you put it in the front, 20-foot offset and a
Oh.
10-foot offset, that's 30 feet.
right?
And it only looks like you've got
I'll tell you,
38 feet to the property line from the foundation.
I'll tell you exactly what I got right now. From the
Oh,
front of
okay.
the house, left front corner
Yeah,
to the street line, I have 32.1 feet.
right. That's why
Okay.
they couldn't do it.
And from the side, side of the house to the property line. Hang on, I just click on this. And from the side, I have 41 feet. So
Okay.
20 and 10 is 30. My system's 20 feet wide. See, I'm not allowed to have the system deeper than 3 feet. So if I was to put it in the front and try to get it below the slab so I could be 10 feet off the foundation, I have too much cover over the system.
Right.
So it's kind of a catch-22 on where to put this thing. And I tried on the right-hand side and I couldn't get it over there either.
Okay, well, DEP issued the file number. They had no complaint about the design of the system. They just wanted to make sure that the local upgrade was going to be approved by the Board of Health and that it met the standards for the Title V local upgrade approval. And actually, Paul, I think this plan was originally submitted 4 years ago in 2019. And if Steve will keep going over there, we can see the date.
Signed right.
Yeah, 7/8/19. So it's been 4 years, but is the Board of Health approval still in force, or did they have to review this again?
We resubmitted.
Okay,
We resubmitted to the board. Okay, we just pretended like we never did it. So
perfect.
So it's been in. They've already seen it. And again, it's not a local upgrade. See, there's two differences. This falls under a repair. If it fell under a local upgrade, that would mean that we were making the system larger than it should be because we're going to either add a bedroom in the future or we added a bedroom before we did this job. So the upgrade, you have to conform to the Title V for a local upgrade, and you can't ask for waivers or anything in that type of thing. So a local upgrade is a lot more stricter, but because we're going under a repair, we're using the same bedroom count that was done when this house was built. It's not a local upgrade, it's a repair.
Okay,
Even though it's a whole system, it's still a repair.
okay. And so, Ann, has the Board of Health looked at it?
I think the Board of Health.
I believe they have.
They have
Yeah.
approved it. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
And I know they have, I know you guys are kind of short an agent now, but Steve Donatelli, we've met him many times in different towns. He's pretty capable guy on reviewing these things. So something like that, he would have questioned. And we didn't get anything back from Steve at all on this.
okay. So are there any other questions? Neil, you all set?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, so here's the situation. The administrators worked on the permit and we have the permit. And we've added a couple things to this, Paul. As it turns
Okay.
out, there was quite a bit of yard waste and debris down in the 25-foot no disturbance zone. And so we're going to require that be removed.
Okay,
Okay. And
that's
that
fine.
once it's removed, going to hand cast some conservation seed mix and put in 4 posts evenly spaced across the back of the property. They don't need to be on the plan. And we'll put the badges on there. Because people
Okay.
just don't know.
Well, this was a rental. So, I mean, the owner wasn't here. He was renting it. So whatever the people did there, they just did
Okay.
whatever.
So we want the new owner to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you're just going to put them in evenly spaced across the back, even if you want to set them, consistent with the wetland flags. But
Okay.
at the limit of disturbance across the back, where the lawn is.
Yeah.
And then
No, I get you.
we'll remove this stuff. It's not the worst we've seen. There's some logs, there's some grass clippings, there's some leaves, a little bit of brush. So we'll just pull that all out, hand cast the seed mix and put up the 4 poles with the badges. And I think we'll be good.
Okay. I'll put them right along the edge of the woods and the lawn, because the 25-foot buffer in some places, if you're looking at the plan still, is in the woods. But we'll put them, we'll be good. We'll put them right out on the lawn area.
Yeah, put them right. Yep, I think that's perfect. So what I'm going to suggest here is that the order's been the order's been prepared with those restrictions, and I think what we'd like to do here is we can close the hearing and we'll distribute the order for comments. And if we hear no comments, we'll sign this at the same time that we sign the permit for Standish Road.
Okay. If you want to just email me or call me and let me know, I'll come pick them up. Or I'll send
Good.
someone down to pick them up to
Okay, good.
record
Okay.
them.
All right. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion to close this hearing and distribute the order of conditions for review and signature.
So moved.
Neil,
Second,
Steve. Discussion. All in favor?
aye.
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 I got all of you. That is a unanimous vote. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. And just let me know and I'll grab them.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Take care.
I'm going to stop the screen share.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay.
Here comes that next line of thunder.
Oh yeah, it's raining here.
I didn't hear it.
Your house must be well insulated then.
It was just the one clap.
Probably just in the dry zone.
Relation.
We have it handy. Never mind, I can.
Okay. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public meetings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the notice of intent for the proposal to construct a commercial building with associated stormwater management system located within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at Assessor's Map 4, Parcel 72, 455 Hartford Avenue. Mitch Mislaka, Goddard Consulting, Northborough, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Moshe Tayas, Darren Properties, Milford, Mass. The continuations will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, June 28th at 7:40.
Okay. Thank you so much, Matt. We'll let you in. Okay, bye.
Okay, so this is 455 Hartford Avenue. These are the small automotive repair condos that we've been reviewing for some time. We raised a couple of issues at some of our hearings, and as a result, the planning board acted on some of those. Plans have been revised. The planning board has seen some of the plans we have seen some of the plans, but not all of the plans. And we have had no opportunity to comment on the plans.
How many plans can there be, Mr. Chairman?
Well, there have been probably 5 revisions.
Oh, so you haven't seen the latest ones?
So the latest one is April 3rd, I believe. And what's happened is the applicant keeps asking for continuations because they're working with the planning board and on the planning board issues. So they keep asking for continuations from us. So unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to input the revised plans.
Now, we've been
Thank
providing
you.
our comments through our administrator, to the planning board. And a couple of the issues that we haven't been able to discuss is the whole back portion. If you recall, they were going to have a swale there that was going to channel flow from abutting properties down into the open space area over quite a long run. And there was a requirement from the fire department to have fire equipment and apparatus be able to get behind the building. The building was hard up against this riprap area. So apparently they've made a small alleyway behind the building. We don't know if it's sufficient or not, but in the southeast corner was a structure. It was a containment structure where the waste from the drains and all of the condominium units, the auto repair condo units, was going to be captured and stored. No, okay.
Yep. Right on the.
All right, so
Yep.
so you can see in the left top corner, there's a structure, a holding tank for the floor drains. Now, yeah, in the top left corner. So what right there? There's it says holding tank for floor drains.
Underneath the snow storage.
That's right. So we had a problem with that because we asked it the last time we met with Mark Allen, we said, gee, we need details on that. And he provided details. And lo and behold, 2 feet of that structure are going to be in groundwater. And we don't think it's advisable to have a holding tank for floor drains where there's going to be oil and gasoline in groundwater. And additionally, we have the snow storage problem, which I know Mike was really aggressive about pursuing the fact that they had limited snow storage and now they're going to have even less. So we haven't had an opportunity to address these issues. And, for the last month, we've had requests for continuations for 2 weeks. And I'm looking at this thinking, there's no first meeting in July. And the meeting of July 28th is pretty
I
full,
think it's 26.
26th. So what I'm going to suggest here, based on their inability to work with us, to provide us information, is to continue them to the evening. Oh, wait.
That is correct.
Okay, so
No.
hot off the presses, new information, it comes in the middle of a hearing. They're on with the planning board, and they requested a continuation to the evening of August 23rd at 7.
Mr. Chair, is that 2024 or 2023?
What night did they request the hearing, Mr. Chairman?
Today,
No, what, to continuation till?
To August
August
23rd.
23rd.
And the reason being that they're meeting with the planning board on August 10th. That's
We don't meet on Wednesdays.
What?
What do you mean we
I'm
don't?
sorry.
I'm sorry. We do meet on Wednesday.
Okay,
Brain
We're not
cramp.
meeting today.
that's
Sorry.
okay. All right.
Long
They
day.
don't,
Thank
planning
you.
board doesn't meet on Wednesdays. That's okay.
I'll go away now.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Okay. So that being the case, I'll entertain the motion to continue the hearing for 455 Hartford Avenue to the evening of August 23rd at 7,
2024, 2025.
2023.
So moved.
Steve,
Second,
Ariane, any discussion?
This presumes that we are going to get new plans in a timely manner and so forth. correct?
They have an ample amount of time. They have 2 months. So, okay, a motion
I
in a
don't share
second.
Your optimism, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion?
None here.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, but
Abstain.
unanimous.
I'm going to
Unanimous vote.
abstain.
Oh, what?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay,
Who's abstaining?
Neil. Unanimous with one abstention. Okay. All right. So, this is this. Do we have the next one?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Right. All right, Austin has not arrived yet, and due to that snafu, we won't open until the applicant's engineering representative is present. But we could start thinking about when we might want to sign some documents. So we have an order that's been prepared and distributed. We have an order that will be distributed tomorrow. Then we don't anticipate much in the way of correction. So we might be able to do both of these at once. Might I suggest July 4th?
No.
What kind of barbecue are you having, Mr. Chair, there? If you'd be ready by Friday and I look at the things tomorrow, I can come in on Friday.
I could do Saturday morning. I could do Monday morning.
I could do Friday.
Oh, so we got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday,
All right, so.
and Monday. Hey, that's a 4-day weekend,
Okay, so who can do Friday?
Ariane,
Like,
Mike, and Ariane.
Okay. And anyone Saturday?
Okay.
Saturday,
Neil and Steve. So we have Ariane and Mike, Neil and Steve.
Saturday morning is 9 good?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Awesome.
I'll get those out hopefully tomorrow. And
You're bringing the coffee, right?
and Ari and Mike, Friday, what time is good for you?
give me 1 second, I'll tell you.
Around lunchtime works for me, so like
Yep,
12.
okay, got it.
Either like 8:30 or it'd have to go like at 10:30.
Yeah, okay, so 10:30 then?
Yep, that's fine.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Sure.
Are we moving on the meeting minutes?
We can do that.
That's a great
Great idea.
And I don't have Mike's corrections.
Well, he sent them 30 seconds ago.
Oh, that was an hour and 30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Great
I
idea, Steve.
I can mention them. I got them right here.
All right, let's
Of
do
course.
that.
Yes.
I'm gonna share screen and just show you, or just,
Sure, why not?
why not? All right. Only two lines on the third page. We're talking about this is for the warehouse behind Home Depot. The yellow highlighted areas.
The areas, yeah.
So the sentence in yellow there, the areas to the south would also have to be fleshed out because in the event that the roadways are being in those areas, it would still need to be created so the activity can be reviewed by the commission and peer review. I'm not sure what we meant by that.
Huh. The areas to the south would have to be fleshed out.
First off, it doesn't say, we are not saying what areas to the south, so if somebody's reading this and want to try to figure that out, I think we might want to help them a little there, but the last part of that there. It would still need to be created so the activity can be reviewed by the commission. I'm not sure it would still need to be created means. What the it is that we're referring to there. I lost track. I read it a couple times. I know we talked about it, but at the time, obviously, but
It will need to be, I don't know.
This isn't, yeah, you know what? There are, this doesn't make sense. All right,
No,
all right. Let me do a little work on that.
and the other area below, I mentioned because
Yeah.
we created by that particular area. I'm not sure which area we're talking about because they talk about the required number of parking spaces and
Right,
putting infiltration.
yeah. There's a reference there that's not clear, Mike.
Yeah, there are a couple of parking areas that were in that general area, including
Yeah.
the cul-de-sac, so I wasn't sure. And the crossing, I assume there's only one crossing, right? Is when you come down the hill out of Home Depot lot down at the bottom there. Is that the only crossing we're referring to in the whole site, or is there another?
Yeah, that's a little confusing.
Okay, so that was my only observation for the minutes. Otherwise, they seem fine to me. I just thought we could clarify those a little bit for ourselves and the public. And
No, I think I'm gonna have to put my thinking cap on and figure out what was going on
we'll
there.
work on that, Mike.
We'll work on it. We can't accept them. That's okay. But you sent this to Ian an hour and 30 seconds ago.
well, now it's an hour and 45 seconds ago, so okay,
It's okay. We thank you for your efforts.
sure.
And what we'll do is we'll just submit the revised minutes for consideration forthwith.
Oh, and post haste.
In post haste, yes.
That's when the mailman's really hurrying. It's post haste.
Well, haste makes waste, Mike, so we don't want to be too hasty.
Yes, that's when the trash guy goes down the road really fast. That's making haste is making waste, and post haste is when the mailman's really in a hurry.
So, did you guys get a lot of rain?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
on the last conversation, I'm going through some notes that I typed from the 26th. Keep in mind, I was fairly new, as I still am, but so I'm not sure what I'm typing, but the southernmost replication area, is that what you were referencing? Cedars need to be kept and become a
was the-
model for other.
Yeah, that was the area, but I think I was taking a mental shortcut to something else and it doesn't make sense. So, but that is the general area that we're speaking about. Yes. Yes. So.
Right.
So speaking of Pittsburgh, Mr. Chair, you know how the haze is bad in New York City a couple weeks ago where there's Michelle? I saw pictures showing in the late 1930s, early 1940s, when the war effort was going on and Pittsburgh was producing 41 million tons of steel or something like that for the war effort. And before they put their clean air regulations into place, which happened after World War II was over, they showed pictures of Pittsburgh, downtown Pittsburgh, and you would swear it was a midnight, no moon, foggy, and it was 9 a.m. on a otherwise in the outside of the area, clear sunny day. That's how bad it was, and it was like that for years. I'm just picturing, you know, we got it bad in New York and other few in Massachusetts, but that was just incredible pictures. So I guess we're lucky.
I spent some time up west of Cleveland. We have offices up there, and it's right down the steel. I can't remember from which steel plant, but I think the steel plant goes on for about a mile.
Yeah.
The building, and all the buildings in town were coated for years. Were coated in a sort of orange dust. There's
Ironically, the
some
U.S.
sort of
Steel-
byproduct from the plant. Just the whole town was coated in it.
Ironically, the US Steel building, which is one of the major downtown skyscrapers, was made out of a certain type of steel, which they made a mistake in doing. And for the first, it was supposed to gradually sort of rust in color and stay oxidized or whatever it is with that process. But instead it was not finally coated properly. So for the first 5 years or so, it flaked rust so bad they put canopies up on the street down below because people were being pelted with flakes of rust coming off this huge skyscraper. It's a dark brown now, and I guess it doesn't do it anymore, but it's just ironic. It's Steel City.
I mentioned earlier, one of the trips out to see family to Pittsburgh, I took the train. And that route has the infamous horseshoe curve, where you can, at the front of the train, you can actually look out the window and see the back of the train.
Interesting.
Okay, well, Austin is here. Oh, wait a minute.
He was on momentarily, Cliff. He just texted me for some reason, got booted off. He's logging back in again. So
Okay, we didn't do it.
there. Okay.
We didn't kick him off. We didn't kick him.
Thanks. That's where my mind went immediately.
You guys start early and then you boot me. I love it.
Okay, thank you, Austin. We had a couple of cancellations, as has been happening of late. We find out late, and sometimes there are a lot of people to notify and fell through the cracks. But now everybody's here.
You just told me you were very enthusiastic about talking to us tonight, and I would have accepted that instead.
Well, anything to get us out of here early.
Oh,
Okay.
now I'm offended.
So let me proceed with the opening of the continuation. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the notice of intent for the proposal to construct a 700,000 square foot warehouse facility with associated site appurtenances on a 158 acre parcel located off of Hartford Avenue, Bellingham. The project proposes temporary and permanent impacts to resource areas jurisdictional to the Wetlands Protection Act of 661 square feet of bordering vegetated wetlands, 95 square feet of bank, 561 square feet of land under water bodies, and the 100-foot buffer zone with proposed mitigation, and is located within the riverfront area to Springbrook. The project also proposes impacts to resource areas jurisdictional to the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, including 28 linear feet of bank, 15,274 square feet of land subject to flooding, bordering an isolated, 651,879 square feet of buffer zone, 39,357 square feet of isolated vegetated wetlands, 82 square feet of land under water bodies, and 2,484 square feet of vernal pools with proposed mitigation. Andrea Kendall, LEC Consultants, Worcester, Mass. has submitted the filing on behalf of Jeff Curley, WS Bellingham Associates, Boston Street, Chestnut Hill. The continuations will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, June 28th at 8. Okay. So what I propose here tonight is an exchange of information. I think that perhaps Brian has been out to take a look at the area that we said we were going to submit a report for. We have that report. What I'm going to do is share the screen. We will provide you with all the documentation that we're going to show you tonight for your consideration. And I'm sure if Brian, has something he wants to add or submit his report, we can do that. And then we can coordinate an effort in the field if there's some kind of discrepancy or further evaluation might be needed. Does that sound like a reasonable approach, Austin?
It sounds like a reasonable approach. I don't think Brian's been out in the field yet. What we were hoping to do is, see what you were putting forth, Cliff. And then have Brian have that context when he was out in the field. He could at least be reviewing it through at least the lens that you framed. I'm happy to do that. I think it's a good idea. The other thing we're hoping to start collaborating further with the commission on tonight too is, in consideration of all the site walks we've had, discussion we had a couple of weeks ago, we've refined the mitigation plan, which is reflective of some of the things we discussed in the field. And we wanted to work through that with you tonight too. And I think that would be helpful. I think we can start with what you've got. And then time permitting, we'd like to at least get into the high level mitigation discussion and further that conversation because we've refined it a bit and we want to get your feedback on it.
Well, why don't we start with that? And then what we'll do, because the information, I'll just explain what it is and show it to you for your consideration. Because we're not.
Yeah, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Go ahead. No, you can start, Austin.
I will bring up my screen. Let me know when folks can see that, please.
Yep.
Okay. So what I have, this is kind of an overall mitigation plan, and it shows, in the green highlights what we're considering for our wetland mitigation package. What we had talked about in the field was some refining of some of these areas. I'll get into the details, but if you recall, this is the area up here. If you can see my virtual hand, that's where we had a surface basin originally. We looked at that in the field and said, hey, that feels like it might be better suited as a mitigation area. So we've outlined a location where we feel like would be better suited for mitigation, put the stormwater into the parking lot. Also, what we've added, we've enhanced this area kind of centrally located in an isolated wetland system as well. And again, I'll show you a bit more of a detail on that in a second. And then third, this area down kind of furthest away from the project is something that we had looked at in the field at least, and then decided, hey, that makes a lot of sense. It looks like it's suitable for a wetland replication area. However, when we looked at it in the field and we had staked out the limits of it, we found that portions of it appeared to be sitting within limits of what that existing gravel path was. And the consensus amongst the team, being us and the commission, was let's refine that footprint and tuck it in so it's not sitting in the influence of that gravel path. That's what we've done. So with this mitigation plan, my interpretation of what we had discussed as a team was, let's make the mitigation plan as comprehensive as possible. Let's be cognizant of what we're replicating. And frankly, from my opinion, not being objective, is that the replicated areas are going to be of substantially higher function and value, and Brian can speak to this a little bit more, than some of the areas or majority of the areas that we're actually impacting. So, and being cognizant of wanting to be precise and respectful to the existing surrounding, let's go build these really robust mitigation areas. If the ratio is less than 2.0 initially, okay, because what we're mitigating and what we're impacting, there's a substantial increase in value. It's a little bit different than what we heard at our last discussion, Cliff. So in consideration of some of the feedback that we've gotten and wanting, or at least your preference, to try and nudge the ratio up further, this is what we have before you, and we'll get into some of the details. This mitigation plan here is almost 2 to 1. It's, for round numbers, we have 40,000 square feet of direct impact or alteration. This plan here is like 78,600 square feet. So we're 1,400 square feet shy, and we could probably refine these footprints and push it around a little bit and get to the 2-to-1. We feel really good about it. We feel really good about it in two respects. One, the site's capable of supporting a mitigation ratio of 2.0-to-1. Two, the mitigation that we're describing here on the plan, and again, Brian can kind of get into the details as much as the commission would like. We feel like they're strategically positioned where they're appropriate to mitigate while not, being invasive, so to speak, where you're getting into established areas to create wetland and things like that. So we feel like we're really close, and we want to get the commission's feedback on some of these things. I'm looking at it from the clouds right now. I get it. So I want to dive into some of these individually, particularly the ones that are new or refined, which we'll start up here. We'll get into this middle one, and then we'll get down to the bottoms to show you how that footprint changed. And as I'm going, Brian, interject, because I'm kind of like the guy who stayed at the Holiday Inn from a wetland perspective. I know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be intelligent. So I'll let you speak to any of the functions, values, and some of the wetland related matters. First one, this is up off that satellite parking area as you come off the driveway. I kept the basin footprint on there for just visual context, right? For some reason, it's not all of a sudden.
No, it's there.
Okay. Do you see the green hatch in there too?
We see the hatching. It's not green, but we see it.
Yeah, for some reason it just locked up on me, which is unfortunate. So anyway, this hatching in here is what's representative of the new replication area. And what we did is, if you recall, when we were out there, there were these high kind of ridge lines, and there was some topography around the side of it, but in between that were some elevations or some locations that were very consistent elevations that were lower lying, and it looked like in periods of higher flow, you'd see water at least going through there. We've tried to turn that into, enhance those areas and make them wetland. We're obviously going to be doing test pits out there in the coming weeks to confirm what's happening. This is the area where we thought there may be a shallow restrictive layer, but also potentially conducive to supporting hydrology and plant species. So rather than make that a stormwater feature, what we're contemplating here is turning that into more of a wetland enhancement area, mitigation area. Frankly, we think that's a better use of it. And when we were out there, a month ago or whenever the last site walk was, generally speaking, absent the scientific detailing of it, it felt like the commission agreed that this felt more appropriate for mitigation rather than stormwater. So that's why we're leaning into this a little bit. And what it is really a relocation of this mitigation area. If you recall, we had pushed one really close up against the head of Wetland A. And the commission's feeling at the time was, hey, that seems a bit tricky with the topo and things in there. So this area felt better suited. So essentially, this is a transplant of that.
Just let me interject here for a second, Austin, please. Excuse me.
Sure.
We've discussed this in a couple of public meetings already, including the fact that we were expecting to see some soil work done both there and the proposed replication area and under the parking area to make sure that that was going to be appropriate. And so the soil testing has not been done. Is that
correct? So we're probably a week to a week and a half away to getting that refined. We're working on the excavator schedule and our licensed soil evaluator schedule. What we're going to do, Cliff, as we had talked about a couple of weeks ago, is once that is officially pinned down and we have all the timing set up, I'm going to circulate that to Ann, as well as a plan that shows where the explorations are generally located, so that you being the commission are aware, and you're aware of schedule and what we're doing and when we're doing it.
okay? Well,
But generally speaking, we feel.
Well, I think the consensus in the last two meetings we've discussed this, that it was certainly bear further investigation.
And that we're in the further investigation part of it. We're really more, it's in our opinion, it's confirmatory rather than it is a big question mark. But be that as it may, it's still testing we have to do regardless, and we'll be sharing that with the commission.
Okay. Before we get to any of the others, I want to quickly go to the southern portion where the wall is. And I know we had talked about an area there for proposed enhancement. If you want to go back to your the main overlay.
I do, and for some reason it's not letting me right now. Hang on one sec.
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna stop share real quick so I can get this thing figured out. It's there we go. All right. Hang on one sec. That should be coming back up. Do you see it?
Yes,
Got
yeah,
it.
okay.
Good.
So, right on the southern area, to the right, you have, up.
So I can come up here.
Right next to the building, right in there. Okay, so now those are walls that you have there?
Yeah, so right, there are some
Okay.
retaining walls around these parking areas in here. Yep.
And those areas we discussed initially, those areas were gonna require tree clearing. And
There will be some tree clearing in there, correct?
And
Yep.
the commission was really clear very early on in the hearing process that when you're cutting down a forest to do construction, you can't call enhancement supplemental plantings once the construction's done because you're cutting down a forest. So
No, I
you're really
understood.
not enhancing.
I understood, and the word enhance probably isn't my finest choice of words to describe it. These areas here are not necessarily enhancements as much as they are intended to be wetland replication. So we're actually constructing wetlands in here. It's not a buffer enhancement as much as it's going to be a constructed wetland. And Brian, if you want to speak further to that, you're obviously more than welcome.
Well, have we done the soil testing that's going to be required there?
Brian, do you want to touch on that? Because I think we haven't dug test pits around here. But
Okay, so I mean, these are just, we're shooting these ideas out. So that's something that I understand if you haven't done it, you haven't done it. And does anybody know Owen Ryan?
Oh, yeah, Owen works with me. I think he's the guy who's designing stuff. I think he's more curious than anything. He's not gonna be able to-
Okay, we've had some strange people come in here in the past, so.
So,
All right,
I'll put it on record. Owen is strange, but he's harmless, and I hope he heard that.
Okay, so these are the kinds of things, that the commission and then our peer reviewer will be looking for, making sure that the grading is correct. All of these things will have to have a fairly comprehensive protocol, and the ball will be in Brian's court to do that.
Well, I fully agree. I think the first thing that we've been working on with the commission and was making sure we were strategically aligned in terms of locations, how we're structuring it. Of course, we have to go and design this, and then Brian is going to work with your professional team led by Matt to make sure that there's consensus and alignment in terms of the very granular details of how these things are being constructed, the positioning, the hydrology, all that stuff's got to be figured out. We're very confident with everything we have here because one, the majority, if not all of these areas are located immediately proximate to existing wetland resource areas. So there's connectivity hydraulically. We're confident the soils work. Does it have to be confirmed? Absolutely. And is Brian going to work with your team? Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
quick question. This is again, not for right now discussion, but since you're throwing things out there to be considering, looking at some of the replication areas right along the road and the back of these parking areas and so forth around the corner of the building, the dotted areas. Some of those look pretty thin as far as depth away from the built up new parking or roadway structures. I don't know how wide they are, and that's not really critical, but what I'm thinking is rarely, I think in the number of years I've been on the commission, have I seen somebody put so many wetland replication areas right smack up against areas that are going to be totally disturbed right next to them, walls, paved areas, traffic and so forth. I'm just thinking, I don't know how high quality these areas are because I know Austin's mentioned a couple times and so have some other people. So just something for consideration by our consultants and whoever, that the quality of some of those areas, while they may be square footage that's needed to get to the numbers you're shooting for as meeting your 2-to-1 ratio, I'm a bit concerned that those areas are not going to be all that great a quality. If you're having a band of 5 feet wide right next to a road and you're calling it wetlands, and it's even if it is near some other wetlands, you're adding that on. I'm not sure the high quality is really there. It's it may be in some areas, maybe not in others, but there's so many of those dotted areas that I just thought I'd bring that up as one of my concerns anyway down the road.
No, I understand the point, Mike, and that's where Brian's work and the peer review is going to come into play to assure that the grading is correct, the soils are correct, and everything else. My concern's a little different, and it's that what we're doing is we're building a wall so that we could be potentially limiting terrestrial habitat for creatures that may need some of that because they're going to be hard up against the wall. And this is Austin, this is another thing. We're getting a little more in depth into this. We haven't even talked about, the wall and the specificity of the wall construction. It looks like it's going to be an engineered wall. I know in the field we had some conversations, not part of the record, but it was like possibly a rock wall could be constructed because of all of the product on the site. But we'll need to carefully vet the construction of the wall. There's a lot of wall. We're looking at 30 feet and more in some spots. And as we all know from recent events, design and construction of these walls are sometimes two different things, and the wall failures are difficult for everyone. But in this particular situation, they could be disastrous. But this is just another thing to put on your list.
No, there are many things in the list, and I think you're not wrong in that it's going to require some dexterity. It's going to require engagement and monitoring by all the professionals at a number of different stages, right? The first thing that we're trying to do right now, obviously, is build an alignment and consensus that, okay, these areas make sense. Do I appreciate Mike's point? Very, very much so. I think the overall graphic is so zoomed out, it loses sense of scale. These areas are much bigger and robust than they would appear just by my little tiny computer screen. Brian's going to be working on that with Matt and making sure that they're viable, they're sustainable, they're going to be productive. We want to make sure, hey, this makes sense from location, square footage, arrangement, because the next step for Brian is to get into the real hardcore science of this stuff. And we don't want to do that if we're still figuring out where and how, right? Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, and sorry, just to jump in for clarification purposes. So those areas that we're talking about up around the parking areas and those retaining walls, those were buffer zone revegetation areas. Anything with I think it was kind of like a triangular symbol, where areas that were either previously disturbed or within regrading footprints that will be revegetated. And we had provided some specifications on the within the notice of intent on that front. On this plan, it's I think everything's shown in the same coloration, so we're not distinguishing what's replication versus buffer zone revegetation. But Austin, that other plan you had up had the distinctions, and the wetland replication areas were cross-hatched.
Okay, so like, but the buffer zone restoration doesn't count as buffer zone enhancement because the buffer zone is altered for reasons of grading or access or whatever construction methodology is being utilized. So that's the point I was trying to make, and I think we've made it before.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's something we're still kind of in the laboratory, so to speak, to figure that out. You and the commission have provided good feedback on that. This conversation, I think, tonight is a bit more focused on kind of the mitigation. Obviously, want to hear what you have to say about what you found on your field visit and stuff, but wanted to relay this to you and solicit feedback so that as we refine it, we're continuing to build towards an end goal. So we talked about this guy here. Well, let's go to the south one because that's what we talked about. So this is the one that's at the far end, and by far end, I'm looking down here now, right? So I'm at the southernmost end. I put this one in an aerial just so it could be seen a bit more clearly. This one kind of bled out a little bit into, you can see the cart path very evidently underneath the trees, right? This one in its original conception was a bit into the cart path area, and it kind of came over here even a little bit more. We pulled it back because the feedback that we got from the commission is, hey, tune this up and get it outside the path. So we did. So this one got smaller, but cumulatively with all the feedback we've had, we've been able to enhance the mitigation area, but this still looks and feels the same. It's a bit smaller now and outside the influence that gravel path.
Yeah, Now, I know that Matt is here and he was with us when we evaluated that area. That was the area that held water sufficient amounts of period of time to allow for the growth of Atlantic white cedar. So
Correct. Yeah, and that's the one, Cliff, if you recall, the idea behind it, the commission said, yeah, that feels like the right kind of spot.
Mhm.
However, because of the Atlantic white cedar that exists in there, it's not going to be go in there with a backhoe and rip the whole thing out and put a bunch of stuff in there. It's going to be, let's be strategic, let's be thoughtful, let's be careful of how that's getting reestablished in there. And maybe it's some very fine grading and some, being careful about it. But from a high level perspective, I think the consensus was this makes sense. Let's go explore it further.
does the commission have any comments? My recollection was that it was an appropriate area. Matt, did you have anything to add?
At this point, no, I think, I remember that area and, I think I'd actually like a little clarification, Austin, if you don't mind, so we're seeing in this graphic, we're seeing the two symbologies, the wetland replication and enhancement. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this is Brian was mentioning, these triangles are kind of,
Oh, see, they're overlapping, yeah.
yeah, so this is buffer enhancement, this triangle, and then this right hatch is the actual replication.
Yeah, if I remember, the left area, there's a fairly steep embankment there, wasn't there?
So, yeah, so if you can, it's hard to see because I have the aerial, but you can see these very tightly bunched contours in here that are kind of riding. So the idea is that we're staying at the toe of that slope.
Right.
It was kind of lower lying and it felt, like it was going to be conducive to a wetland system. The idea is that we're not in here doing a massive earthwork operation.
Right. I think that's right.
Yeah, and again, we're gonna be doing some additional soil testing in here, which will inform the design, and we can build that out as we discussed at the last site visit, to provide a lot more detail and methodology and means and methods at all.
Okay.
And this would be really good to see with the topo more clearly because it cuts across topo lines in an interesting way that I'm curious how you see it playing out.
Are you just adhering to total slope or have you gotten that far yet?
No, I think the idea is, as as Brian and I and the team have been thinking about it, is that it's essentially marrying up with the toe of that slope where it's flatter. And the idea is that we're not like trying to rip into that slope to create a big flat spot. The idea is that let's use the topography as it is existing. We'll do some refining of it, but it's like I said before, it's not intended to be a major earthwork operation.
Okay.
And then, all right, so with that, let's pivot to the last one that we have updated. So if you can, I think you can figure out where we got the buildings just off the screen here. This is the parking lot. Just up in here was that low-lying area that we had a pond or a detention basin that we're going to convert. This is kind of that infield area as we're calling it. So this right here is that kind of cleared area. I think the water line's going through there right now, right, Brian? Or
Yeah, further to the south.
yeah, so there's a little bit, water lines kind of near here. If you recall, this is the spot where we went out there. Low-lying, very thorny, not a lot of established vegetation, but there was a lot of like bramble stuff.
Greenbrier.
I think I still have one in a part of my body that I won't mention. So the idea here was that area, which is contiguous to these kind of isolated systems, was let's enhance and expand that.
And we did have a little vernal pool in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit further to the west. You can just see the tip of it. Oh, go down again. Yeah, right in that location.
Okay.
So this is so you see the corridor, and there's that note for the raw water line going through the portion of the X series wetland. The original shop's proposal again was the project footprint was occupying the majority of the system, but there was some wetland replication on the north side of it that linked up with the A series wetland for Spring Brook. The area that we've targeted extends into the gravel road. And the northerly fringe, the triangular area, sorry, that's easterly. That easterly triangular fringe is a buffer zone restoration. That's the open gravel road area. But there is some wetland replication extending into that. And if you recall, I think I mentioned that when they put the water line in there, they excavated down further, and there's a little bit of a pocket depression that's attempting to become a vernal pool, but is not quite getting there. Within the last 3 years, I've seen 1 to 2 spotted salamander egg masses that dry out before it successfully develops. So what we're targeting is on the south side, expanding that area that had been previously altered. There's a series of the stone mound piles that go anywhere from 8 to 10 feet tall. And then that partially disturbed area in and around the water line where the understory is relatively cleared out. And the areas where you start to pick up the briars are further to the south, where it's a little bit more intact. This area also, there's I think there's some Japanese knotweed we had observed in the field right at the corner of the raw water line area that we're going to restore as well. But that would be the intent to, try to create some good vernal pool habitat off of the area that's already attempting to function. And then we are proposing to remove one of those rock piles. That's a circular green area within the interior of the wetland, but it's immediately adjacent to the edge, so it can be easily accessed. There are remaining stone piles within the wetland and or adjacent that you can kind of see on this plan with the contours. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was kind of the rationale behind targeting that area as previously disturbed, and then trying to build out that wetland system to function better, because we have a cluster of vernal pool type habitats and upland buffer areas that we're proposing to enhance in this area.
Well, that all seems appropriate. Some of
happy
the
to
stuff,
do that.
some of the stuff we've discussed in the field, you made some changes, but they all look, for the most part, it's everything that we've already observed. So, if you're planning on proceeding and fleshing out the protocol a little more, and doing the testing that's required, I think it's appropriate.
I think that's the next step, Cliff. That's so, generally what I'm hearing, tell me if you disagree, is so
Yep.
officially this makes sense, right?
Yeah.
These things make sense. Now let's go put some additional science to them.
Yeah, while you're doing it, you can provide the square footage as well. But
Sure,
yeah,
absolutely. So right now, just high level, the areas in green, well, not all these areas, some of these are buffer that we talked about, but the physical wetland replication areas that we have on this current program, 78,400 square feet. The total alteration, including the isolated systems, is approximately 40,000 square feet, maybe just a shade over that. So we're approaching 2 to 1, and I'm very confident that with some gentle nudging, we can push the ratio of these mitigated areas up to 2.0. I mean, we're talking about 1,000 square feet. That's nipping and tucking in the big picture. And I think that happens, in my opinion anyway, collaboration with Brian, Matt, and the commission as those refine. The 2 to 1 ratio to me is very much an achievable thing.
okay. Well, that's a good thing.
I think so too. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that as we're having this conversation with the commission, there was consensus before the really smart people go and do really smart things. So I'm excluding myself from the really smart people conversation, but I was really pointing to Brian and Mal, so. That's the mitigation discussion. I think we're aligned on that. Let's take the next step, which at first part is getting some soil explorations done. We'll tell you, being the commission via Ann, when that's happening with a picture of what those test pit locations look like. And then that'll be the next step in terms of data gathering for mitigation viability. Absent any other questions or discussion from the commission, I'm very interested, Cliff, to see what you had in mind for some of the findings that you've discovered recently.
Sure. And so what we'll do is we'll present you with some information, and then how soon do you think you could get that out to them?
Oh, I can get it out this week.
All right. So and then you'll receive copies of everything we put up here this week.
Sure.
So will someone allow me? Will someone put up? Someone put the stuff up for me. Steve, you've been doing a good job. We have something.
No problem. What are you looking for, Cliff?
Well, let's start.
Should be in the drop.
It'll be in the Dropbox, and it's.
If you want to send it to me and I'll put it up.
Cliff,
Yeah,
can you pick what you want here?
sure.
The bottom 5 came out of the recent Dropbox.
Right.
Is this?
So what we're
is
going to
that-
start with is okay, the last one, number 5. Okay, so this is a letter pursuant to water withdrawal program from DEP, and it talks about the town's water supply and the town's wells, and it lists well number 12, and well number 12 is currently the town's best pumping well, 12G, and right now it meets compliance with a water drinking water program because the area is limited to water supply operation activities. So what that means is we have instituted a water resource district protection bylaw. And we'll pass this on to you. Now, what I want to do is show you the area of the public water supply and zoning. So Steve, if you can get out of this one, okay, and you can go to, number 4. This is the site of the wellhead protection zone. The reason that it meets the criteria is because there's no industrial or residential development there. If you look at the center of the site where the dip is, where it says gravel pits, that's where it's proposed to put the warehouse. And, you know, one of the statutory interests of the Wetland Protection Act is protection of groundwater and protection of public water supply. And we keep talking, or we keep mentioning the fact that there's maximum utilization or overutilization of this specific site. And in a meeting, Jeff has suggested that he wants to reserve the right to access another piece of property. And if we look at the piece of property behind the campground, we see that that's even closer to the well site itself. And, you know, irrespective of what development potential exists there, the fact that we could be negatively impacting a critical zone for wellhead protection is something that the town should take extremely seriously, because right now we're in compliance. If we build the warehouse, you know, we might be able to get away with it because it's at the edge. But if we continue to encourage development by building access roadways or whatever it happens to be to we could be looking at the potential degradation of a major water supply for the town. So we'll pass this on to you as well, along with that letter. And
Sure.
if you could close this. Okay. All right. And then the next one is, okay. We have the Bellingham Water Resource District map. Yep, number 2. Okay. These show the areas that are currently zoned for protection. And one of the things that was highlighted was the amount of residential area in a well protection zone. If you look to the left, you'll see a substantial portion of Weathersfield is there. Fortunately for the town, well number 5 it's an emergency use, so we're okay there. But if we put something like that behind the campground, we're putting that right on top of our well. And I don't know what Water Resources is going to say about that. I know that, you know, as an environmental person, it's bad policy. So then we'll go to the next one. The next one is something that Austin may remember.
Number 1, Cliff?
Yes, number 1. I know it's
Oh, yeah.
kind of small.
Cliff, I feel like you're trying to make me an emotional wreck right now by bringing up old.
Yeah, remember this one?
Speaking of emotional scabs, this was an emotional Iron Mountain for me for a long time.
So all the way back in 2007, the commission was concerned about these same issues, and we requested information relative to groundwater migration. And what this map showed essentially was that groundwater, as a logical person would suspect, moves toward the well. The well is pumping water from the ground. The replenishment water migrates toward the well. So we can pass that on, although I'm sure that Austin has this in his files at home right now.
I do. I was looking at it fairly recently.
And if
As a
I may,
matter of
Andrea Kendall is in the waiting room.
Oh, okay, well,
Oh,
we're,
she's trying to get in.
oh, okay.
Did we let her in?
Did we let her in?
It's
I
a
think
public
if
hearing.
you let Owen in, you should let Andrea.
No, I don't have, see, I don't see her up there.
She's in.
Okay,
Okay.
that's why I don't see her. Okay, so
In
we
fact,
have that.
I remember this map partially being influenced by us and the commission walking around on a Saturday morning in February, dropping a groundwater probe down test pit holes or down monitoring well holes. I distinctly remember that because it was one of my finest days of my life.
At least it wasn't cold.
It was, yeah, right.
That's sad in a way.
Feel I live a sad life. You were there. You were there.
Did
for
you
God's
not?
sake.
So even though Austin says we
I
don't
know, I
need,
was there too, so.
even though Austin says we don't need to provide that, it'll be part of the package that we will send out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can send it to Andrea, Brian, Jeff.
Sure.
And then the last item is the item.
One question, Mr. Chairman, does the local wellhead protection bylaw prohibit development of the nature we're proposing?
No, controls it.
Does not prohibit it.
No, there are performance standards and limitations.
Limitations on use and performance standards. Thank you.
But let's think logically. Why would we want to build something on top of a well? Just saying.
We're not proposing anything on top of the well itself.
No, but the roadway might form at that kind of development. And
And
we've
if,
had the
if that
conversation.
development were to come forward, it would be evaluated through the lens of the then existing.
Except for the fact that many of your
Bylaw.
enhancement areas are directly abutting a driveway, which would probably, if we were looking at the construction of a roadway, would be impacted. So that's a discussion for another time. I want to try to wrap this up. We're going to provide this. We have one more item to provide to you, and it is the letter from BSC with the field evaluation. And I know that everybody's going to be looking for this. In a nutshell, a well-qualified soil scientist performed the evaluation utilizing the current, the new methodologies. And it was difficult to get down into the area, but based on his considered professional opinion, it demonstrated hydric soil. One of the things that the commission has pointed out with every site visit, that it appears that there is groundwater present through much of the year. And, you know, it's always been our opinion that the presence of groundwater at the surface or immediately below is a good indication of hydric conditions. And, you know, in the letter, he gets into the reduction characteristics and all of that. But I know Brian will be probably better suited to evaluate that than I, but it certainly bears consideration, and we'll look forward to that response. So we have, there's one meeting in July. The second meeting in July is pretty jammed up. And you guys have some homework to do on the replication, restoration, soil profile, and hydrology testing. So it might be appropriate to go to August 9th. Does that seem, would that give you sufficient time to?
I'd like to propose a continuation to your July meeting. If we're not prepared for the July meeting, we'll get you plenty of advance notice and request a continuation to the August meeting.
You won't let us know the night of the
We
meeting
won't
like
let
many
you
of
know
our
the night.
applicants do.
Middle of the hearing, we won't let you know. We'll let you know well in advance.
You see the havoc it wreaks.
I do firsthand. I watched it. I've learned more about Pittsburgh tonight than I ever knew.
Than you ever wanted to know. Okay, all right, then let me see what we have available for July 26th. We
already have two new ones.
all right, so 9:15. You know, we don't know. People could retest. There could be continuation requests again. We'll go to 9 o'clock.
9.
And then, you know, if somebody runs late, we'll open it and continue. All right. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of July 26th at 9 o'clock.
So moved.
Second.
Neil? Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's everybody. Opposed? Okay, that's by unanimous vote. July 20th.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thanks,
pleasant
everyone.
evening.
Take care.
I wish everyone adieu, and hopefully the thunderstorms avoid you and keep your trees intact.
All right,
Good night, everyone.
we'll be talking.
Night, Matt.
Okay.
What else do we have to do?
Okay, hold on.
Okay, so Tina said she was gonna be working. Is Tina here?
Tina is still here. Yeah,
Tina, you are working on the minutes. Tina?
He's still there, but muted.
Okay, so she's not responding.
okay,
All right, well, we'll get those minutes here. We'll get the revised minutes out and I'll get the orders out. The order out, the new order for 30 Farm. And we'll see those of you who said you could meet me on Friday and Saturday.
okay,
Okay. Thank you.
fair enough. So I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Neil,
Second,
Steve. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night.
Have a pleasant evening, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Clifford, you mentioned some post-meeting news.